So let's talk about how we keep our students on track and making good progress during this time of distance learning. One of the challenges we face with online learning is, of course, how do we make sure that they are progressing and doing the right thing? So as a teacher, you can assign as many tasks as you want for your students and track their own progress or track their progress. So it's quite simple to go ahead and assign tasks, as you know. Find the activity that you want to assign and simply click assign. You can also be super organized and start assigning activities which starts into the future so that you have effectively a to-do list or a playlist that's all set up for your students. And of course, as a teacher, you can track their progress using the school assignments or reports tab, where you can have a look at how many attempts your students have made and what medal standard they have achieved for those activities. So all of those things is what you can do as a teacher. But I want us to take it a next step further, where we use this online learning opportunity to support students in developing an internal compass or a direction or a drive in themselves in terms of the work they need to complete and track their own progress. So if we jump back into the students' platform, what we're going to do is try and get our students to start by managing their own to-do list. Like I said, the whole purpose of this is to give some ownership back to our students. So if they click on My List, they will see a list of activities that they need to complete. And if they can start by managing the scope or the volume of activities that is on the to-do list, that will give them a sense of power and control to begin with. And all they need to do is click on Archive and archive any of those activities that they see that they either no longer want to see for now. They can always bring it back later on, by the way. All right. Or it could be an activity that they've tried 3 times or 10 times and they still can't manage to do it. So click Archive and then that will disappear for now and they can bring it back later on. And as always, any activities that they do need to do, simply click onto the activity and click Play. Now, it's also really important to make sure that your students are not only focusing on tasks that you've assigned, but also spend a significant amount of time regularly, weekly, hopefully, completing at least 2 or 3 recommended activities. The reason for this is because the recommendations will start building a personalized learning pathway for each individual student, and that really helps them hone in on any areas of weaknesses or gaps in their learning and really supports them to be able to do better in any task that you have assigned them. And the way the recommendations work is basically all activities on Mangahigh is organized algorithmically based on a maths learning continuum. So if you have assigned a particular task that your student is struggling with, so when we measure struggle, what that means is they've attempted it at least 3 times and still have not passed, then it triggers a recommended activity that's a prerequisite task associated with that activity that we couldn't pass, and assigns it automatically for our students. So the idea is if your students are toggling between the assigned task and the recommended work, that should give them a sense or a holistic and progressive learning experience on Mangahigh as well. And you really want students to own that. Because ultimately as a teacher, you have more clarity over the assigned work. You can see what recommended work they have completed as well, but most of your data does revolve around the activities that you have assigned for your students. So at this point, I do want to remind you guys about, the medal system. So we spoke a little bit about the medal system, but just be aware that your students do need to earn at least or get at least 4 hard questions correct in order to pass or get a bronze medal. Now you will start seeing when you're tracking your students' reports or progress that some students are attempting tasks 3, 4 or 5 times and they are not passing. So they're the students that you really need to work closely with and help them get through and actually replay some of the activities together with them and see and try and identify which areas or which levels of questions they couldn't do. So in essence, if your students are not achieving a medal, it's really the medium questions or possibly even the easy questions that they can't handle. But if your students are getting to a bronze level standard, that means we know they're pretty good at even the easy, medium, and definitely the hard questions as well. All right. So to extrapolate, if your students are getting a gold medal, that means they're getting all extreme questions correct. But if your students are getting a silver medal, okay, that means they are just starting to learn the extreme level questions. Whereas for a bronze medal students, that would mean to you that they are, they're not quite handling the extreme questions as yet. So it depends on the level of coaching you want to provide your students, but the medals do give you some kind of idea or representation of the levels of questions they can or can't do.